This is my domestic violence story. I already made one prior to this, but I thought I would do a revise on it. So, because I left a lot of details out. I'm no longer scared. I just want to say I'm no longer afraid of you. You guys do not scare me one bit, and I'm going to name drop like hell. Okay, in 2009, we'll begin this story. I met a guy named James Thurman in 2009. This jerk decided that he would manipulate me, lie, cheat, steal. But in the beginning, he was normal, just completely normal, but he ended up being a wacko. He had multiple personalities, yada yada yada, blah blah blah, etc. Nauseum. Anyhow, from there, he acted normal around me, wasn't abusive at all. And in 2010, when I got my new apartment, got on HUD for the very first time, and had my first apartment, he decided to go homeless so he could manipulate me into letting him live with me. And he was acting crazier than usual. So I'm like, okay, well, poor guy doesn't have anywhere else to go. Hey, what the hell? I'll take him in. So he basically started staying with me. He started the accusations of me cheating on him, wanting to leave. Everything from that to not making the right food for him, not having enough groceries. The typical stupid complaints that they make to make you feel guilty. It went on from there. And it includes sexual assaults, physical abuse, psychological, mental, taking my money, shoplifting, where he would take receipts and go to the nearest Walmart and go over and read the receipt about what items were on the receipt, and he would take those and try to return them to the customer service desk. He got caught several times on camera, but they never did anything until on Thanksgiving when we went shopping, and I actually had money on me. We went shopping for groceries, and he decides to do it again. They caught him red-handed. I had no clue he even did it because I wasn't around him. I was focused on getting the ingredients to make Thanksgiving dinner. Long story short, we had to put everything back because he was accused of stealing and I was with him. So I was being labeled an accessory to theft. So we put everything back. I was pissed off at him. He was pissed off at me. He was blaming me for him getting caught. And I said, well, maybe you shouldn't steal, and maybe you wouldn't be in trouble, and we wouldn't be in this mess. So we get into an argument. By then, we have a lady staying with us who used to live 3 doors down from me. And she goes wacko. She's on all these different street drugs, and she was secretly taking my medication without me knowing. And she goes crazy, starts saying everything in my apartment is hers, she's not leaving. It ended with me trying to call the police because she was trying to call the cops on me, and I said, no, you're crazy. None of this is true. So he goes wacko, grabs her phone, chucks it out the window. It lands on top of a parking garage off my balcony. And I should have ran out of the apartment right then and there and gone to the police and told them my piece rather than dealing with that insane nonsense. So after that, everything's a blur. According to my parents, I was beat senseless. I got my skull cracked open by her. She tried to make off with hundreds of my stuff, and she didn't because I told the police she assaulted me. And that story. And we proceed with normal. He yells, cusses at me, hits me, blah, blah, blah. It keeps on going on from there. And every time I would try to go to a friend, he would accuse me of lying, and then the abuse would only get worse. So there's that. As sometime after we get engaged, because I thought that accepting his engagement proposal that the abuse would stop. It didn't stop. It kept going. And he dropped a friend of a friend off a balcony because they get into a fight. It was him accusing him of wanting to get with me, something like that. And he dropped him off the balcony, broke his ankle. So I ended up going home. And that was the night he raped me. I became pregnant from that incident unknowingly, and when I started to have symptoms of pregnancy, that's when I realized I needed medical attention, which he forbid me to go to a doctor. Otherwise, he'd beat me up if I went to the doctor. I was scared for my child, so I did whatever he asked to protect my child. He was cheating on me with my best friend's mother, which that's embarrassing. I told her about the affair once I found out, and I said I'm pregnant with his child. And she threatened her that she wasn't going to allow her to see her grandchild anymore if she didn't stop the affair. Well, she ended up stopping it, but I was already trying to get out the door to go to Missoula, Montana to be with my family during the remainder of my pregnancy to have a baby safely and leave her in the care of my cousins who already had 2 kids, so it wouldn't be awkward for her. Anyways, someone tipped him off to what my plans were of leaving, and he beats the crap out of me horribly. And 5 days later, I give birth to a stillborn baby. So I ended up afterwards, during Christmas, DHS got notification that he was messing around with children, like pedophile type stuff, and they raided my apartment. Once I told them I had no involvement, they stopped the raid immediately. They said, we'll call you, but we're going to have to take your cell phone. So they took my phone, and by then I had already been corresponding with another guy named Chad, and it was fine at the start, but once he came out there after the raid, things got real bad. He wouldn't let me sleep. Sleep deprivation, again, another tactic of abuse, another method of abuse. He wouldn't let me sleep. I was sleep deprived. I was also pregnant with his child. And I didn't sleep. I did whatever he wanted to. And basically, long story short, I kept on trying to correspond with my HUD manager to tell her that he's out here and that I was trying to get him to be moved in so he could live with me and I wouldn't risk eviction. Well, she didn't want that. She wanted me to get rid of him, but I didn't want to because I felt bad that he came all this way and he had nowhere else to go. So I wanted to keep him around. So she wasn't going to allow him to live there. So I ended up forcing my parents' hand and getting a 30-day notice to vacate. And I told the manager I'm moving out. And they finally agreed to get me the Greyhound tickets necessary to go out there with him. I went to Ohio with him. Absolute nightmare. His mother was a sweetheart, but his dad, exactly like him, if not worse. His dad said straight up, I want you to hate me. I don't want you to be nice to me. I want you to hate me. Because I don't like you. He started belittling me, basically hinting at that I was fat and that I should watch my step down the staircase because I could fall through and hit the basement. I was like, you crazy son of a bitch. I'm pregnant with your grandkids. So he lost his shit when he found out I was pregnant. So, yeah. And I found out that my then boyfriend Chad was cheating on me electronically, corresponding with another girl. And I caught him red-handed while I was searching through his cell phone. There was some text messages that popped up. It piqued my curiosity, so I picked up the phone and I looked, and he was sending explicit photos to her, and she was sending them back, sending ones back to him. And I said, "Don't ever text this number again. He's not single, and you're being screwed over if you think he's single, because he isn't." So it broke off his little affair. He got pissed off. We got into another fight. He slapped me. I tried to tell his mother about it, and he said, like, she actually went to his dad and said, he's hitting her. What do we do? And when he found out that I sold him out to his parents, he was even worse. So he slapped me even harder, behind closed doors, behind his bedroom door. And that was leading up to the moment where we found out his friend had died. He was hailing an Uber or a cab driver, whatever, who was drunk. And he didn't know the guy was drunk, so he crashed the cab, killing them both. And he decided to go to the gravesite. At that moment, I took the opportunity to leave the house voluntarily. I went down to the cop station. I said, "This man, I think you know who it is on this street, because you guys are the only cop station on this road. You know who it is. I want you to either A, go arrest him, or B, I want you to help me get out of here." So they proceeded to not arrest anyone because I couldn't physically prove anything because the bruises had healed up. So they took me to a domestic violence shelter, but they don't protect identities, so I was on borrowed time. I decided to hit up an ex-boyfriend of mine that we ended up breaking up for whatever reason. And I told him I was in Ohio, which he had been waiting for forever for me to go out there, and I was finally there. I was thinking that, my ex-boyfriend Sean was just telling me lies about how messy of a housekeeper this guy was. But, because I didn't want to believe my ex or anything he said, but it turned out to be quite true. The place was a complete shithole. It had trash, dog crap, everything you could think of that's disgusting filth, all strewn around the house. I could only tolerate being there for probably 3 days, 3 to 5 days. And then I could feel babies moving inside me, and I realized I'm pregnant with twins. I was like, oh, hell no. So I had been buying them groceries, wasting all of my deposit money that I got back from my apartment on these people, and I decided to use what money I had left, and my ex Chad paid the rest of it to help me get a cab back to the house that he had got us a room at. And I went there, and everything was fine because he didn't hit me because I was still pregnant with his kids. I ended up losing them because of the stress that I'd been under, and that's where everything went bad. He decided he wanted to start hitting me again because he blamed me for the loss of the babies. Come to find out, he was the cause of it. He caused it all. He forced the miscarriage. He stressed me out to the maximum that someone could tolerate. And I have a very, very, very high tolerance for stress, but not when I'm pregnant. I don't think anybody has that type of tolerance, even when they're pregnant. So fast forward further in, on August 14th, I found out that my cousin had passed away in a horrible car wreck. And then 4 days later, I found out my Aunt Connie died. And that's where I was like, can you please just let me go to the funeral? I have a cousin who's in the area who will drive me back to Ohio. She'll take me back. Whatever you want. He told me, no, you're not leaving the house. If I can't go with you, you're not leaving. You're not going anywhere. So I didn't want him to beat me up, so I sacrificed that, and I really regret it. And basically, from there, the abuse just got worse and worse. There was one particular time where he was cussing, yelling at me, hitting me. Well, his headphones, he thought he turned them off, and he was in a live stream when he was playing his Xbox. He was live streaming on Twitch. People could hear him. And one of his viewers said, "Somebody's going to jail tonight. I'm gonna call the police." And he looked at me. He's like, "Don't you say an effing word. Shut up." And I was like, "They heard you already. They're probably calling the cops." But nobody ended up calling the police, and I didn't have any help. Fast forward a couple of months. Actually, no, a couple of weeks. This is well after my 30th birthday. I finally had enough. We were having to be kicked out because he had another seizure, one of many, and because the paramedics came to the house, the landlord found out we were living in the basement, which was not allowed. It was a 2-person house, single occupancy, meaning nobody can live down there. Plus, the fire department reported us to the county because it was not safe. There was no fire escape, and we had wooden stairs, which that's not fire safe. And fire safety is if it's a fire safety violation, it's a big no-no that you can't have in a living space. Otherwise, you could be evicted by the county, which we were. But out of pity for us and our situation, he told us we had exactly a month to find a place to live. We finally found a place, but I couldn't take his abuse anymore. He said he wanted to have a drink, so I was all right, fine, yeah, let's have a party, let's drink. So he goes to get himself Miller High Life. I got Arbor Mist, which looks like, ironically, like dragon fruit vitamin water. So secretly, I had a bunch of empty bottles for vitamin water, and I started pouring the booze into them because they were all empty. I sealed them with super glue so he wouldn't think the seal had been broken, and I hid the glass bottle somewhere in the room. So he thought I was shit-faced. He passes out drunk. I wrote him a note, said, "I can't take this anymore. You are a very abusive person that I no longer want to be with because I can't handle it anymore. It's psychologically damaging. I can't handle it. It's crap. You have me living in a crappy situation. It isn't fair because I've treated you right the entire time. You haven't provided for me. You broke your promise to my dad to take care of me. You didn't take care of me. You abused me. You made my life a living hell. And now I'm going to make yours a living hell because I'm leaving you." And I left a note under his hand. He didn't feel anything because he was passed out drunk. I took his wallet out. I took my ID back, but I left my credit card so he wouldn't think any suspicious. I took whatever I can carry in my hands: my purse, my vape, a bottle of vape juice, my chargers, my phone, and my vape mod, and a jacket on my back because it was snowing outside. I put my shoes on upstairs. I warned the guy that rented us the room. I said, "You say a word, you're going to jail as an accessory to domestic violence. I don't care what you say or do to me. I will make sure you go to jail for this if you don't keep your mouth shut. I want you to tell him when I'm long gone from here." I told him the length of time he would be in jail if he ratted me out. And he already had priors, so he didn't want to go back to jail, so he kept his mouth shut. And then he told him when I was already in a really secreted domestic violence shelter in Akron, which I don't know the address, which is a good thing because I can't even say it. I was staying there, and I turned my phone off. I turned it on to call my parents. He starts blowing up my phone with texts saying, "Are you okay? Where are you? Just come back home, blah, 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 blah." And I said, "You know what? I'm not coming home. You aren't my home anymore. That's not my home. My home is in California. and that's where I'm going. And then I took my SIM card out of my phone, took the battery out, so there's literally no way for him to track me. And then 24 hours later, I was back with my parents in California with no medical insurance and no proper state ID. I was completely helpless, but hey, I was in a safe spot, which I've been here for 3 years now. This is a huge learning experience. To anyone who ever is in a relationship, if he shows any signs of verbal aggression, don't tolerate it. Make sure he understands your rights as a human being. If he doesn't get that, just leave. Don't stay with that, because if you stay, it'll escalate. It goes from bad to worse real quick. Verbal abuse leads to violence, for physical abuse, and then there's sexual and psychological abuse. If you allow them to verbally abuse you, it'll eventually lead to all those, because they'll think it's okay to do whatever they want with you. Don't stay. Leave. Get out. And also a little tip, don't follow domesticviolence.org's tips about taking a suitcase. Leaving a suitcase out to grab is going to get you killed. They'll kill you before you even have a chance to grab that suitcase. They'll drag you back in without your hair, or worse. You're better off just utilizing the whatever they give you at the shelter. Baby stuff will be provided, children's stuff will be provided, brand new toys, etc., clothes. They got it all. They got everything you could possibly need right there. You just leave everything behind and get far enough away from that house and call the cops and say that this person has been beating you up. Tell them that you want to press charges, but you want to wait till you're in a safe area where you can actually file charges and have them served to go to court in a controlled situation. Because writing them out right away is also going to get them to retaliate against you. You're better off doing this all behind their back, because if they find out, they'll hurt you. Or, in the worst situation, probably kill you. Don't do anything out in the open. Leave first, and then worry about the legal stuff later. Or go to a hospital, because they got security. If you go to a hospital, security will make sure they can't get anywhere near you. Security will stop them, and they'll say, no family ties. I don't care if you're their husband, you're not getting in here because you're suspected of domestic violence and you're not getting in this room. They do that to protect the patient, especially if they're in the triage, because if they're suspected of being raped or abused, they won't allow anybody in that's a suspect. The cops won't even allow it either, because it's a police matter. So you're safe in a hospital, or even better, going from a hospital to the domestic violence shelter, because anywhere that they send you is going to be a secret location. It's going to be protected, and they will require you to turn your phone off. Trust me when I say this. I got the best amount of sleep the minute I got to that place, because they had no distractions. There was nothing stopping me from having that good night's rest. It was like staying in the world's best hotel, because I was far away from him and he couldn't even touch me. Couldn't tell me not to sleep, couldn't belittle me, berate me, whatever have you. I was away from Chad and I was happy. My dad's hug when I got back, when he got there to pick me up, best hug of my life. I almost cried. I was so happy. And I'm so happy I'm far enough away from him. He can't hurt me anymore. Take it from me. I've been through it twice. Nobody deserves to be treated that way. My heart breaks for the people that still suffer at the hands of a monster like that. But don't follow the tips where it says to pack a suitcase, even a duffel bag. Those assholes can hear a pin drop, let alone a zipper. A zipper will clink, make little tiny clinking noises. They'll pick up on it. They'll hear you, and they will catch you, and then they'll hurt you. Your best bet is just to utilize everything they got at the shelter. Take nothing with you. If you have kids, grab your kids. Get out the door as quickly as possible while they're asleep. Plan your escape route. Figure out a safe way out of that house. Better yet, wait till he goes to work. Because granted, he won't even let you work. He takes your IDs, he takes every form of identification with him, additional to his, so you can't find gainful employment. So, you got no issues getting out of the house to get away from him while he's not even there. You're better off waiting till he leaves. Or, just get a friend to come in and have the cops on their phone so they can hear what's going on, and they'll say, the cops are on this phone. If you say or do anything, they're going to hear it and they're going to come running. And just get out of there. Do not take anything with you. It's just going to hold you back, make noise, and especially if you have children, you don't want that. You don't want your kids, if you're holding in your arms, you could be worried about having a suitcase in your hand. Use your smarts. Don't rely on the internet for tips. Use your common sense. Your instincts. If you think it's a bad idea, don't follow it. Go by your instincts only. That's what's going to keep you safe and prevent you from getting murdered by that jerk. And to anybody who still suffers, my heart goes out to you. I cry for you. From the bottom of my heart. It literally hurts to think about what people go through at the hands of an abuser. Because I've been through it twice. Especially children having to witness their mom getting beat the crap out of. Oh, and men are no stranger to it either. Even men being belittled by a woman, being beat up by a woman, that's nothing more humiliating than a guy getting beat up by a woman, being afraid of a woman. They're supposed to be physically and mentally and physically stronger than us, and they get abused. That's just sick. So, anyone who still suffers, the number is 1-800-799-SAFE. Plus, you already know the magic number is 911. So, yeah. Call either of those numbers. The cops keep you on hold for whatever reason. Call 1-800-799-SAFE. Say that you're in a desperate situation. You tried to reach out to the police, but they put you on hold or whatnot, or they can't get any information out of you because he's not giving you a safe place to talk, and they'll help you from there. But don't stay. Get out. He doesn't deserve you, and you don't deserve to be in that situation. Not ever. And kids don't deserve it either. If you're a child and you're getting abused by your mommy or daddy, you can call 1-800-799-SAFE too and say you're being hit by your parents. And they'll put you in a safe house. They'll get you out of there. because children are like a huge priority, and you guys don't deserve that either. There's other numbers you can call. If I were you, if you're a child and you're seeing this, hearing this for the first time, go to the local library, go to your school library, go to a teacher, tell them what's going on. Teachers are there to protect children when they have none. They have a responsibility to protect you in and out of that classroom. You can even go to your principal, your school counselor, talk to them about it. They're there to help. You don't have to be afraid. You just need to go talk about it. The longer you wait to talk about it, it's that much harder to get them locked up in prison, and that's that much harder for you to get out of that situation. This has just been story time, and I'm trying to get resources for people who still suffer at the hands of an abuser. Take it or leave it. Thank you for listening. Bye.